Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Today we're excited to talk with a South African graphic designer. In 2017, he realized the Earth was flat. He's got a YouTube channel. He connects with lots of people all over the world, and he's here to share his story. Welcome to the Missing Link, Keith Reynolds, Flatzoid, Effie. How are you doing today, brother?
How's it? How's it? Good from South Africa. It's good to see you, man. Uh, I was so actually happy when you sent that email, like I think it was a few months ago, actually to set this up, and I think it was really cool. I did tell everybody to like and share the show. It sucks that you have to be on your backup channel though, but I'm sure it will grow as quick as your other channels. So yeah.
Well, we
Um,
hope so. So, why don't you start off with telling us about your journey, a little bit about your background, your education, what part of the world you grew up in, what part of the world you're in now, if you like disclosing that information, anything about your journey, what got you into graphic design, what got you kind of awake and aware of what's going on in the world, and what got you thinking that the Earth is no longer a spinning ball going 66,600 miles an hour around the sun.
Oh yeah, no, it's gone. Okay, yeah, I used to do graphic design. I was a graphic designer for 10 years. I actually studied art. I majored in art because I specifically wanted to either go into jewelry or to do graphic design. I ended up working for a big marketing company in Johannesburg for a few years, and moved on to other ventures in the graphic design. But eventually, I had to leave the graphic design industry because I moved to a town where my wife came from, which was like in a smaller town called Clarksdorp, and they didn't want to pay me as well, even as a senior, as what I got as a junior. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really worth it, and that's why I ventured into my second passion, which at the time was cars, and I was doing spray painting and building body kits and doing cars up. So that's how I got into the spray painting, which I'm still currently doing. I obviously live now in the bush, so it's high up north in the south of South Africa. Um, it is quite nice here because it's just, I mean, I'm like 5 kilometers away from the big five. So if I want to go see a rhino, I can just hop in the road, drive 10Ks and see a rhino or a giraffe or a lion or whatever I want. So that to me is very exciting. With the flat Earth, well, it was actually very simple. Because I studied art, perspective was something really drilled into me, and it's when you look at something perspective based, you sort of have like a, I don't know, a 3D mentality in your head. You can picture it, what you're looking at, and understand why it's all optical. Um, one day I came across flat Earth, but I didn't really look into it that much. I just thought, oh, it's quite interesting and stuff. And then we went on holiday to the beach, um, and we were sitting on the beach, and I saw the boats go over the quote unquote curve, and I was like, hang on, but this is like, this can be explained optically. I can tell where the convergence is. I can tell everything, and this can just simply be explained optically. And while I enjoyed the rest of the holiday, I didn't really think of much about it. But when I went home, I looked further into it, and well, it was practically overnight. I decided, no, definitely not what we are told. And that's what I looked into it. And it's been since there. I started my flat Earth kind of pushing it was more on Facebook, but that didn't turn out too well because ended up having quite a horrible stalker on there and stuff. So I ended up leaving the Facebook thing, and well, since 2019, been on YouTube, and yeah, it's been growing steady. So I'm very happy with that, and this is where I am now, more on the biblical cosmology side of things, because I am more on the verge of, I'm a Christian, so I do ascribe more to the biblical cosmology side of the flat Earth kind of thing.
So when we started, or before we got on live, you said it was winter there, and you're in South Africa, and it's summer here in Canada, hot. So we're I guess on the northern hemisphere. You're on the southern hemisphere. I think that would be South Africa would be southern. how do
Yeah.
we explain how you're having winter and we're having summer, where you're cold in South Africa, which you would think Africa would be quite hot, all year round, and here it's like so hot outside.
Yeah. I think people like to say like the hemisphere because they would claim it globe based. I just say we're the southern parts, but yeah, the sun definitely is the driving force for seasons. So, I mean, if you understand the sun just goes around in circuits, and obviously it moves further away this time of year from us. Obviously, daytime it does still warm up a bit, but it isn't as, how can I put it, as hot as it usually is. I mean, with me in the bush in the summertime, we're hitting about between 40 45 degrees Celsius in the daytime, where now in the winter we get maybe 25 degrees Celsius. So it's still hot compared to, for instance, someone in the UK or something. But it's cold because, I mean, we've actually been having quite a cold morning and evening. We had minus 10 degrees the other day. So it was quite chilly, but it's snowing everywhere around me, so that's why it's cold. And at the moment, there's some hectic storms going on in like Cape Town. They flooded, like totally flooded. So it's weird weather going on everywhere.
Now, are you seeing a lot of water restrictions, water floods, with things, weather warfare? What do you think is going on with the weather? Because it seems like, my city here in Canada and a whole bunch of cities across Canada and the US are all got water restrictions. And it seems like that might be the next part of their agenda, is this water warfare, climate warfare, which, they've been maybe doing for a while now.
Yeah. I have, even before I looked into flat stuff, I was looking into like Project Bluebeam and HARP and things. I do believe HARP is an actual weather manipulation strategy that they do use. Um, if you look worldwide at the moment, places that aren't really supposed to be having the weather they're having, they have places that are supposed to be like high and dry or getting crazy rains and things. People, places that are supposed to be wet is dry. So I do believe there is definitely weather manipulation. Um, but I do think it's part of the times as well that this weather warfare is just a way of crashing everything. You know what I mean? If you understand how powers need to be, out of chaos comes order, you could say. So they need some kind of weird thing to happen to get everybody together.
Now, what about the flat earth, makes you so interested in that subject? And what kind of concrete, evidence have you gotten that, things aren't a spinning ball and things are more flat?
I think flat Earth has become my passion, I would say, right now, because it's something you can talk about and have your own opinion on it. Obviously, it's different for everybody. And one thing I have found out about the flat Earth, everybody has their own view on how it works, kind of thing. But that's, I said, I specifically ascribe to the Hebrew cosmology, what the Bible is. Um, I would say my main reasons why I definitely know it's not a spinning space testicle, as I like to call it, is because we don't observe it. I mean, I think everybody can agree with me. The heliocentric model is based on faith. It's a faith based religion. If you ask any glober to provide us observation for the globe, for instance, let's say, okay, show us the Earth rotating, and that comes to Coriolis, then they say, oh no, but Earth's too big, everything's too conservation momentum, so we can't actually observe the rotation. Just trust me, bro. And then what's like gas pressure, that container is one of the main issues I have with the globe, obviously, because it does violate the second law of thermodynamics. And until someone can actually go and provide me a demonstration that you can't have gas pressure containment, then that's a different story. But those are the two main ones. And then obviously, we can explain what we see over far distances optically. So definitely, my view has always been, because we can explain this optically and demonstrate it on small scale optically, it's able to show that they just hijacking this optical phenomena and calling it physical.
Now, there's parts of the world that are at sea level, and there's parts that are not. I'm at 3,438 feet above sea level here where I'm at. So the earth is not flat, right? There's mountains, there's different elevations, there's different, like there's, we definitely don't live on a flat earth, right? Because there's all kinds of, out, like I said, elevation differences. Here in Canada, it goes from the ocean all the way up. We got the mountains, and then where we're very, very, very high, and then it comes back down. The elevation comes back down on the other side, where Toronto, Ontario, the St. Lawrence Seaway. So it does go up, and it does kind of go down by where each side is. So that's hard for me to see that as flat when we have visible elevations that we're not.
Yeah, you see, when we say flat, we don't mean like a flat, smooth surface. It's obviously we have topography and everything. What we mean is it would be a horizontal plane. If you understand, you can have planes on different elevations, but the reference datum is level, and that's why you got mean sea level, which is a zero datum. Obviously, you're going to have mountains, you're going to have inclines and declines and things. But yeah, the ground, as you would say, because we have topography, I think flat Earth as just a name is just given to as a whole. So you're saying the whole shape. Well, that's not really a shape, but you could say the whole origination of the flat Earth is it's just a horizontal plane.
Now, what do you know about Antarctica? And they do a boat race that goes around
The
Antarctica
Venn,
every
the Venn
year, and I'm just wondering how that works on your model of Earth.
The Vandeki, I think it's the Vandeki or whatever they name it. Um, yeah, it's a very interesting race that they take, but they do actually I think they just go left the whole time. So they don't really, I know they go like past New Zealand's way and things, but it doesn't actually show globe or a flat earth though. You can circumnavigate your pool if you wanted to. That doesn't really make it a certain shape. Antarctica itself, as you know, is just practically ice. I find it really interesting with Antarctica that it's got so much mystery to it and so many military ties into it, especially if they are having the same people that's supposed to be at war with each other have this treaty that's never been broken. If you look at it even from a global perspective, Antarctica would have a very big, how can I put it, military. I'm trying to think of the right word. Standpoint. If you were able to capture Antarctica and have your military there, you would be able to be in between everything. You can have a high hand over any other country, yet the same government powers that are at war with each other just leave it alone for some odd reason, and they all work together to keep people off. You can obviously go to Antarctica. So I think the misnomer that everybody says, "Oh, you can't travel to Antarctica," that's just wrong. You just can't travel freely is the word. So there's a lot of rigmaroles to be able to go. But even if you can go, you're not allowed to just travel independently as you would like to.
So that same type of treaty that you talk about in Antarctica, it seems, don't they have the same treaty in space? You have these warring countries that apparently have space stations together that do these things together. It's really bizarre. So what's your thoughts on space, the space station, and how these apparently warring countries seem to work together when it comes to Antarctica and space?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I said. That brings up red flags. I mean, how can you claim to be at war with someone, but you guys want to work together with everything? Obviously, I don't believe in space, as it's been told. The ISS as a tin in a vacuum orbiting the globe is definitely not what I believe. Do we see something up there? Yes, obviously. I just don't believe it is what they're telling us and where it is that they're telling us. Um, I do, however, do consider that the way they're trying to portray things is to control everybody, to give a sense of unity. And if you look how the globe is being pushed to the masses, especially now space travel, it's such a alarming rate at the moment. They're trying to push everybody to go to Mars as quick as possible, go back to the moon. I mean, they've been trying this for the last 50 years. They still can't get past quote unquote low Earth orbit. So it's amazing how in the 1960s they were able to accomplish this with processing power of a Nintendo in 10 years, but with all the technology we got today and all the brilliant minds, we're not able to just achieve half of that. You know what I mean? It's like crazy.
Did you see that one space vehicle from the 60s or 70s that looked like it was a lawn chair? They actually had like the back of one of those cloth, like it looked exactly like the lawn chairs that we used to go camping with, but yet they took this out to space. That was rather bizarre to like think that this $1 million machine was, they bought pieces from, like Canadian Tire from the hardware store.
Yeah, yeah, it's really weird. Yeah, the rovers and stuff. Even I mean, we were looking at the Mars rover. I think it was last year, and it was looking at they they commissioned. I think it was $1 billion for the zip ties alone. And you're thinking now, what can you do with a zip tie for $1 billion and to take it to a place where I mean, if you take, for instance, plastic or anything and stick it in a environment like a vacuum with all the heat and cold and stuff, it's going to get brittle and break straight away. And then you go and look at what they just made it out of. You just don't see where that $1 billion went to. It's there's a lot of things that just don't make sense with NASA or any space agency for that matter. It's like I said, it's been shown so, I don't know, that it's such a laughable stock, even to a lot of people that do believe in the globe, believe that nobody's been to the moon before or anything. So it's not just a flat Earth thing that sees it this way.
I'm sure we could rag on NASA for hours and hours and all of their, inconsistencies. But the last thing I'll say, did you see that hatch? That was like a floppy hatch that he pulls. It's like supposedly an airlock, latch that
Mhm.
seemed to be made out of cardboard or something.
But I
even
know they
even
showed the one as well that looked like it had rust on it. I mean, why would you have rust in a vacuum? That doesn't really make sense. But I don't know. Do you believe in that they've been to the moon though?
Well, I don't know because I've talked to so many different people and so many. I don't think the narratives that they've told us that they've gone there. I've talked to people that believe that it's a base, that some people believe that aliens brought it. So the moon is not even from here. It was brought here. There's a base. Went up there. They told them, hey, you guys better buzz off. Otherwise, so they had to make this whole fake narrative. I don't know. I hear so many different sides of things that I don't want to, I can't prove either way that that did or didn't happen. So I just keep an open mind to it all. And, I can't say either way, but what they told us and what they taught us and that BS that we've seen on TV, I don't think any of that is
Yeah.
real. Do you
Yeah.
come from the theory that we've never been there?
No, definitely not. I don't think space is a vacuum as they claim it to be. I do think that it was all just a show. Definitely. There's just too much things that don't make sense. I mean, we can even look at. Have you ever seen an actual demonstration of a rocket working in a vacuum, for instance?
No, but I know that when they send them up, they seem to level out and then just go straight this way. And,
Yeah, they
they don't
arch, they
see,
go down.
yeah, they don't seem to go right out that I've ever seen. So I haven't done too much crazy research into space. I was never really like a space, kind of freak or an alien freak or whatever. So it's just for me, I'm learning all of this stuff
Yeah,
from all of the people that I'm interviewing. And one lady came in and she said that, when she was 9 years old, that some reptilian or tall gray came and impregnated her, and then some Nordic came and removed it. And, this was when she was 9 years old, woke up in blood all down there. And I don't know, like, so a lot of people are having these experiences that, like
yeah.
I have to
Unexplainable. Yeah,
yeah, I have to try
yeah.
to, keep an open mind to what can possibly be out there. What are these interdimensionals? Are there different dimensions? If we are locked in this place, can something come from other dimensions, and where is those other dimensions? Is those other dimensions are outside of this earth, but could it be on Mars or Saturn, another dimension that people can transport to? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know, but I'm trying to keep an open mind and interview every side of people. I don't like to, just because someone's a globie, think that, oh yeah, they're a shill and they're trying to deceive you, or just because someone's a flat earther, they're just a psyop trying to, like, I just want to hear everybody and let everybody hear everybody, so then people can make up their own minds on what they more align with.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, uh, especially with on the flat Earth versus globe arena that we're pushed into, a lot of the time, um, it's they just see the other side as dishonest. You know what I mean? So it is difficult because a lot of the time you just want to play that game and like, okay, you're just a dishonest guy. But I've been under the thing that give a person a benefit of the doubt first, and then see what they, because I know a lot of people that are globes, and I would say they're even more honest than some of the flat earthers. So you can't really just categorize a person because they have a different belief on you if they're dishonest or not. So yeah, it's definitely well worth it to rather be civil and then just find out how the people are and then interact with them and you find out from there.
Same thing goes with medical professionals. If a medical professional wanted to really help people and got in it for all the right reasons and learned all of the medical programming, thinking that it's best to inject people and all these, popping pills and all that, that's all that they know. And they truly think that they're helping people. And, that's not, of them that they're actually knowing that they're actually harming people. They should, right? But for some reason, they're in that spell, or they're in that narrative that they actually think that the things that they're doing to people are good things, when once you
Mm.
kind of step out, you actually know that, hey, they are not doing such good things, especially injecting babies and injecting, you can't inject yourself to good health, and all these crazy things that we find out. But it doesn't mean that they're doing it nefariously, right? That their intent was to harm people and they're just part of this master plan. So everybody is kind of under some kind of spell or another, and we're just all kind of trying to wake up out of the spell that they've put us in.
Yeah, I think it also comes on how you brought up kind of thing and how your thought patterns are. Because when I put the analogy as like even the people that work for NASA or whatever, because they believe it to be true, it doesn't make them think it doesn't make them liars or anything. What they're doing, they believe they're doing is true. So it's the same as a lot with the medical industry. They believe what they're doing. They're there to help people. Obviously, you do get those. I would claim them as criminals because I mean, to them it's just yeah. I mean, we don't want to really say this stuff because of YouTube policies and stuff, but you know where I'm going. There's a lot of things that's very sketchy, and I do think they have hidden agendas. I mean, think about it. No sick people, no money. So it's unfortunately part of society where money does rule and it becomes a person's god. You know what I mean? So they'll do anything to make a as much money as possible. You could say they take all disregard for a human life as long as they get that extra cash which they so dearly want.
Now, what about the division that occurs between the people on these different narratives? And well, just because you're, into the flat earth and people that are strongly into the globe and people like yourself that are strongly into it not being, and then the actual kind of hate and division and just like people being mean to each other. I think that that's a bigger problem than what the actual topic at hand is, because we're supposed to be coming together as people, unifying to stop these the predator class from doing what they're doing to us. But yet these narratives seem to keep people hating each other, opposed to focusing that anger or that energy towards the people that are actually causing these narratives.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it is kind of entwined in it. It's almost a competitive side. It's become, but I think it's because it's pushed at. If you just look at when you get to people when they come into this whole arena, the insults and um, the bad mouthing people, you get pushed a kind of mask in front of you, like automatically, because if you say, okay, you're a flat earther, the narrative pushed is, oh, you're just dumb, you're uneducated, you don't know anything, kind of blah blah blah. And then the flat earthers get all defensive, like we probably would, because it's like, hello, you're calling us stupid, just because you don't believe in the same things you don't. But I think that people should understand is 90% of us were not born flat earthers. We went through the same thing. We believed the globe. Um, we just came to the realization that it wasn't what you've been told. And hey, anybody can be wrong. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you need to just be bigoted, because it is kind of a bigoted, one sided thing I've seen from both sides of this argument. If you don't agree with me, then you're just a moron. You're just idiotic. You're just stupid. You don't know anything, which I think is a thing I'm even trying to work on. Being personally, I'm trying to give people benefit of the doubt. I don't want to just call them dishonest or just insult or anything. I am trying to set aside, if I see anything stupid, I'm not just going to call them stupid if I don't have a reason to. You know what I mean? And I think it goes. It's something, unfortunately, that is the filth, I would say, of this arena. It's a lot of tension between the two sides, and it separates from the bigger picture. I definitely do think.
Now, you may be biased in this question, but who do you think, which side is more, kind of hateful towards the other, or less open-minded, less welcoming, or, do you see it, kind of, the same on both sides?
I Well, what I've been thrown into, it's definitely the what we call the anti-flatter side. They're definitely more hateful because they. I'm busy actually working on a documentary at the moment. Got to do with the anti-flat earthers and the obsession towards flat Earth, and it shows the persona that they have towards going out their way. You know what I mean? To go out their way to insult and to try and make flat earthers look as idiotic as possible for no apparent reason. Um, if you're just normal and you see, okay, listen here, I don't agree with you. This is your belief system. Good on you. But if you make it your life's mission to go and try and make that person's life a living hell, just to insult them, to be as demeaning as possible, that shows that it's definitely, how can I say, deceptive, and it shows that they don't really are honest with anything.
Disingenuous is like
It's
what I've been.
disingenuous. That's the word. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what and why do you think that, people find the need to fixate on certain people or certain narratives and just try to cause as much shit as possible, like being totally disingenuous, not trying to in any way, find any reconciliation or, enlightenment. It's just all about smashing, and nothing ever good comes from it.
I think that's the internet culture today, actually. I do think that people, if you look at people, the way they behave behind a monitor, for instance, on a keyboard, compared to how they would be in front of someone in real life, it's two different kind of characters. So I would blame the internet culture on this. I think people have got very complacent and their ego gets the better of them online. So they would act in a different way because they feel more safe. I don't know, more prideful on the internet than when they would actually be able to just engage like a normal person. So I say, yeah, I would blame the internet for this.
Do you think that, they in like kind of look at that as having power over another by making them, react to this, that they just feel like something, from getting that response?
I think it's a mixed thing. I think sometimes it makes them feel good when they do that, or maybe sometimes because I've seen this a lot, especially on things like YouTube and stuff. They maybe do it for the clicks. You know what I mean? So they want the drama so they can get the views or whatever. So it's all honesty is just out the window because at the end of the day, it's like, hey, what's going to get the viewers? So I think it's a catch 22 thing. It's half and half.
Now, space, the firmament, the waters above, like what do you think is up there?
Waters above. Just like I said, I believe in what the Bible teaches, the Hebrew cosmology, where the firmament is a solid structure that separates the waters above from below. Um, and that's why I do believe that this is why we are able to breathe right now. That's why I don't agree with the globe where they say there's nothing separating the two systems. You know what I mean? Space and Earth is supposed to be two separate systems, and because we have air right now, they can't claim it to be an open system. That's one thing that has caught my attention, especially the last few years.
Jabanu says, do you think the flat earth theory separated the alternative community?
I would say maybe yes. I think because it challenges a person's belief, it does definitely separate people's their beliefs and does separate. I wouldn't say it's all innocent or anything. Just like any belief system wouldn't be just innocent. So yeah, I do believe it does separate.
Just wanted to address some comments here. Zero G Fruit says mass mind control, a mass hypnosis. Matthias Desmond as well has been making waves. Mass hypnosis has been around for a very long time as a Pentagon and mind controlling even the United States Army. So we have interviewed Matthias Desmond about this mass formation psychosis, and it was an excellent interview. If anybody wanted to check that, it's on most of our platforms, not on our main YouTube, because I think that was when we were off YouTube for the 4 channels that we have deleted. And everybody that's here from, Flatzoid's channel here on our YouTube or wherever else, we're on our backup High Vibe Love Tribe channel. Our main channel is the Missing Link Live. It's our 5th channel for the Missing Link. Actually 4th, but we had another one, which is another backup. I was doing a Forbidden History Chronicles that I was doing interviews on every time we had strikes, and that one got deleted as well. So we've had 4 deleted. They say medical misinformation, but we'll be back on probably Monday on our main channel, the Missing Link Live. And for all you that's the High Vibe Love Tribe, we just do like a dancing for an hour and then guided meditation and healing frequencies. It's just a kind of a way for people to have fun, kind of away from all the craziness that the internet brings. So I just kind of wanted to make people aware of that. And then there was one more comment, was from Kiwi. Said, Jesse, I agree with you on many subjects, but with the medical personnel injecting people with experimental injection is inexcusable. I never ever said it wasn't. I would never. You can't inject yourself to good health, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that, you're putting poisons and toxins. Let food be thy medicine. Like, how hard did that? Like, where did we veer off of that? Where, people are thinking that they can put unnatural substances, genetically modified, unnatural, non-God made things,
Mm.
oil based medicine, injecting petroleum, injecting pesticides, everything else. So, no, no,
Yeah,
no, I
things
don't.
that's toxic. I mean, they're using things that's toxic to put in us to say it's going to make us better. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, very, very bizarre. So I heard earlier someone say the space station isn't outside in space, but it's in inner Earth orbit. And there's actually something up there because people say, hey, it's going by, and people can, I've never seen it, I've never done it. But what do you think the space station is? And is there something that is flying up there where they have some kind of treaties and they're hanging out on this inner orbit ship? Or what do you think that is?
Uh, it's very interesting. I mean, it could be, like I said, I do believe in Project Bluebeam. For all you know, it could just be a hologram. It's claimed to be about 404 kilometers up. Space, according to the globe model, starts at 60 kilometers. So, yeah, it is well out of the space of Earth's system. But they have classified Earth's atmosphere, I think it was like 2 years ago or something, has now actually been on to the moon. So they're claiming the moon is still actually in Earth's atmosphere at the moment, which is really odd. But I don't know what the ISS is. I do not think it is a flying tin can in space. Like I said before, I think it is more plausible to be a hologram based on Project Bluebeam than it is to be a flying tin space can.
I think we got one of your fans here that says, "Why did you get involved in the flurf nonsense?" Flats Failzoid, good question. Why aren't you going to Antarctica? Another good one. I would go to Antarctica. I don't follow rules. I would go off exploring. I would not, I would see what would happen. I'm not afraid, and I want to check that stuff out just the same as I would go up into a ship and see that things. Like, I'm here to experience and to learn about what this place is. So I would definitely go on any of those expeditions if it was a real and not disingenuous, go to the same tourist trap, the same little, a research station that they have and don't get to explore the rest. That's disingenuous. Let's go
Yeah.
sail around
Yeah.
it. Why don't we sail around? If we can sail around the bottom of the earth on that, like, let's sail around it. I'm in. Like, I would do with that. Is that something that you would go on?
Well, I would think it would be more worthwhile if they could just do a proper north to south circumnavigation. You know what I mean? Usually they claim they've done it, and then as soon as you see they get to Antarctica in the center, they take a veer left. They go east or west. They don't just travel straight through the north. Um, the reason I can't go to Antarctica is because I have a family and I have a job and I have responsibilities. I can't just drop all my responsibilities and say, hang on, I'm going to go freeze my tits off with some people that I don't like and trust anyway. You know what I mean? So it's not really for me. If someone else wants to go, they can go. Also, it's not going to change anything because I haven't made a claim on what the sun does or where it is or anything. I do say this a lot. It's the only ones that are going to have an issue would be the globe side because the globe is the only ones making a claim that we have to see a 24-hour sun. On the flat earth side, you don't need to see the sun for 24 hours, or you could see it for 24 hours. It doesn't change whether the earth's flat or not. Um, it obviously it depends probably on the type of flat earther that would ascribe to a certain model of the sun. But I am, like I said, a biblical cosmologist, so I don't really know about what the sun is or where it's, what's going on. All I know is if you do see a 24-hour sun, doesn't make a globe or a flat earth. So it's not going to change anything in my perspective. And I simply still do hold the fact that I don't think this Antarctic trip is going to happen anyway. And even if they do go, he's going to where they claim Union Glacier. It's in between mountains. And last time I checked, because where I do stay, I have a lot of mountains around me. The sun dips below the mountains, so it's going to be a redundant observation if they get clear weather.
Now, how do you explain, say this is the sun, the circle, here's the horizon, and it like actually, because I know if it's getting smaller, it doesn't do. And I've been like, I was just in Jamaica for my 50th birthday.
Oh,
And and so
happy belated.
uh, thanks, man. And you see the entire big thing just go down until like it seems like that, like, because with that I get the perspective. If it's going away, you wouldn't see it the same, but it seems like, and it quickly just goes straight kind of down. Like, what do you think is happening
It,
for
de-
that to happen?
it depends on the observation, though. You do get the ones that don't even reach the horizon and it goes away. You even get the ones where it does shrink into the distance over the horizon. Um, the thing is, if you understand, how can I put this in this simple, like lensing, when you're looking through more atmosphere, it kind of magnifies what you're looking through. And as the sun's moving away, because you have convergence, as the horizon is rising relative to the eye level, and the sun's dropping relative to eye level in that convergence, and because it is magnified by the atmosphere, it's keeping its relative size, so it's not really shrinking. And then it goes into that convergence, and that's why it looks like it's setting, because it's just going away from you.
Now, with this 24-hour sun, which apparently that happens in Antarctica and South, or in Antarctica and North Pole. I hear in the North Pole that happens in the summertime. That's like 18, 20, 24 hours of sun. But if it's tilted at like an axis and it's spinning, like, I don't know, it just seems like that doesn't make a lot of sense how they could be 24-hour suns in the both of them. If they're one's on the top and one's at the bottom and we're spinning, how can they both have 24-hour suns? I don't really get that on a globe model.
On the globe, it would be because the axis, the sun is going to be reaching the north and the south of the sun because the globe's tilted. So as it's turning, the sunlight is just reaching both sides at the same time. That's why you get the 24-hour sun on the globe model. But on the flat Earth, because like me, I ascribe to the firmament, and like the Bible says, it's in the firmament, the sun and the moon. So you can have reflections even. Who knows? Like I said, I don't know what the sun is, but all I do know is that if it is showing light, it could just be reflected off the dome moving as well in Antarctica. You never know.
Let's talk about the Bible.
Yeah.
What's the Bible mean to you? Where do you think it came from? What about all the changes? It says in the book that you shall not change this, yet there's apparently
Michaela.
777 books in the Bible and they only have 66. So there's actually 711 apparently missing books. And then there's changes like the Mandela effect. You've got like the hidden apocryphas is a bunch. The Ethiopian Bible has got a whole bunch of different books that the other one doesn't, but it says right in there you cannot change this. But yet it seems like lots of stuff is changing. So what is the Bible to you, and where do you think it comes from?
Well, the Bible is definitely the inspired word of God, like it says. Obviously, humans had to write it, men had to write it. It's not like it just appeared out of nowhere, like, oh, and just came to the man. That would be ridiculous. It is, at the end of the day, just paper with words on it. So people are able to change its translations, put in different canons. The Ethiopian Orthodox Bible still have other books like Enoch and things that have been taken out of the canon when the Council of Nicaea, they actually the ones that decided which books would be in the canon of the Bible today, the 66 books. As for 700 books, I don't know about that, but there is definitely the Apocryphas. that would say pseudo apocrypha. That was like Jubilees and Enoch and all those things. There have been books in the past that have been shown to just be fakes, like the Book of Barnabas that came in medieval times. It was created by a medieval uh, person that wanted to create the illusion that it was part of the Bible. Um, as I would say, Mandela effect is definitely a real thing. We have seen verses change, but that does still keep a scripture like it says in Revelations. Um, we do understand that, yeah, no one shall add or take away from the book. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you shouldn't do it, because it would be just like you do it, God will blot your name out of his book. So, yes, it is definitely still men wrote the book. It doesn't mean it can't change. It's still just normal paper with ink and things. But the overall message of the Bible can't change. So his word never changes, will stay the same, because the Bible as a whole has one simple message. You have to believe in Jesus that came as your Messiah to die for your sins and accept him as your Savior. So no matter how much they're going to try and change the Bible, that will always stand true.
What do you think God is?
God, he's the supernatural, how can I put it? He's the supernatural beginning and end of everything. So he's the essence of what is. So if God didn't exist, there would be nothing.
You said he twice. Why do you refer to God as a he?
Because I believe in the Trinity. So it'd be God the Father, Jesus the Son, and then the Holy Spirit.
So do you see this God as we're made in God's image, so we're looking like what God would look like, just God has got more omnipotent powers than everybody else?
Yeah. Obviously, we nature. When it says we made in God's image, it's more identity. Uh, we made, in His image in a way as we are conscious beings that have ways to, act in a godly manner, to be able to have dominion, like God created us to have dominion over all the creatures in the earth. If you look at all the animals and stuff, they obviously don't have consciousness in the same way we do. And that's why I believe, yeah, we created in God's image, as in we're his image bearers, to be able to be have dominion of the earth, of what he created us to be in.
What do you think our purpose is here?
Our purpose, I think, has changed somewhat because of sin. If it wasn't for sin, remember, in the beginning, God created us to have a relationship with him, because he wants to have a personal relationship with everybody. And the thing that sin has changed kind of makes it now uh, you have to how can I put it? It gives free will. That's what I say. Sin has given free will, and I think that's also maybe why God let Adam and Eve eat the fruit and let sin happen, because he gives them free will. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a love and just for God. If he didn't give anybody the right to make their own choices, and he forced you just to spend eternity with him, then what's the use of creating you? Because then it's empty. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do believe God created us to have a abundant, everlasting relationship with him, and that's what we're here for.
Do you think that sin has made people unworthy of having that relationship with God?
Yeah, it broke the ties with God. Remember, God is holy and just, so sin is opposite. It's a perversion of everything what God stands for. So yes, if you choose sin over God, then it's more like separating. So you're choosing to be separated.
What does sin mean to you?
Death. Sin means death, in other words. Yeah, that's practically what it is. That's what sin is, because God is life, and the opposite of life is death, and that would be sin.
Some people have said that sin is missing the mark. That's kind of where sin came from.
Part of it.
So if you're missing the mark, that you would be, kind of in death. Do you think that everybody has, or can be living in that Christed heart or anti-Christed heart, living in for God or living for death, the antichrist, the chaos division? Do you think that people all have the ability to heal or to harm?
Well, I would say if you have an antichrist spirit, it's more in the lines of you enjoy your sin and you have a hatred for God, kind of thing. So that would be an antichrist spirit, because if you have an antichrist spirit, you're not going to want to have fellowship with God. You're not going to want to be in His presence. You're going to want to be as far away as possible. So, an antichrist spirit would simply be a perversion of everything God stands for. Um, that's why when you see people that decide and say, I choose to be a Satanist, for instance, okay? It doesn't mean God still doesn't love them or anything. It just means they want to be separated from God, and God won't force them to be with Him. He's just giving them what they choose.
We interviewed someone that said sin means self-induced narcissism, and I was like, wow, that's quite interesting way to look at it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can agree with that, because it is a kind of narcissism. You're kind of making yourself God-like, you know what I mean? You're elevating yourself above God, which I would see that as, yeah, self-induced narcissism.
Now, I've met, a few Satanists that don't cut off chicken heads and sacrifice babies and all these kind of things. They've just been either hurt by religion or whatever else it is, and they're still good people. They'll go and shovel the walks of the neighbors and all these types of things. And they just have chose, they like the heavy metal music, and but they're actually still good-hearted people. Where do you think that they fit into the mix? And could someone be written in the book of life that he calls themselves a Satanist but lives with a Christ at heart?
Yeah, you see that's a good. I totally agree. You do definitely get good people, Satanists. I mean, it doesn't make them bad people to say. Um, the thing is, you can't be written in the book of life if you haven't accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior. The Bible's very explicit about that. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal life. So if persons deciding to say, um, I don't believe in God, or I don't want to accept God, then unfortunately, just like the Bible says, if you don't declare Jesus as your God, Jesus isn't going to declare you as one of Him before God when you stand there one day before judgment. So unfortunately, it doesn't matter. Good works don't make a person go to heaven or whatever. It's it's do you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, which is the the bottom of the bottom line of their whole argument.
What do you think about the Ten Commandments, and where did humanity go wrong that they couldn't even adhere to 10 basic principles?
Like I said, we live in a sin. We have a sinful nature. We're born into sin. The Ten Commandments it was given by Moses was simply to try and get people to understand we have uh, rules and guidelines that we need to follow to be able to live a godly life. Obviously, since Jesus came as the Messiah and died for us and stuff, it's made it easier because now we've been able to get the Holy Spirit. Obviously, we all still fall short, and people still do sin. I mean, every Christian still sins. Everybody still sins. We're still human beings. Jesus was the only perfect one that was sinless and blameless. I think it's just part of our human nature. The Ten Commandments is more just like a guideline to be able to know, what's acceptable to God and not. But yeah, I think it's difficult because You can use it as a guideline, but it doesn't mean that everybody's just going to be able to adhere to every rule and stipulation perfectly. The end of it is, even if you do sin and fall short, God's grace is so awesome that He does forgive you.
Now, change of pace here from Jabanu from our Rumble channel. He's in the UK. I was looking at a map of the 16th century, including Tartaria. The creator of the map goes to great lengths to explain how it's hard to describe the globe on a 2D flat surface, old maps. It seems like old maps are all done kind of flat on a flat, existence. I was even, talking to someone who's very, very globe minded and saying the reason why it all looks so flat is because the sheer magnificence, how the size of it, why it just seems like it's flat. He's a hacker, graphic designer. He's created these programs. And a question I asked, and question programs about the Earth and in 3D and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, when you wrote this, did you calculate the curve? He said no, it was all done on. So he's a total globy, and he's in depth into programming, but it's all done even on his model on a flat earth. What's your thoughts on Tartaria, these old maps? I saw an old Buddhist map from the 1400s that showed there was land beyond what they're telling us. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think maps. I think the maps do change through the years and stuff, because I do believe the continents, everything actually move around. I believe that uh, it does change from time to time. But I saw an interesting 17th century map as well, where Antarctica is luscious and green, has no ice. Um, I can't really, I don't know, make claims on maps really, but definitely do know that, yeah, it's been shown flat. Every ancient civilization throughout history has always been believing that the Earth to be flat. Like I usually say, the new boys under the block are the globies from the Greek times. They decided, you know what, it has to be a globe kind of thing. Every other civilization uh, thought it was flat. The thing that got me though, when I started looking into this, if you look at the ancient civilizations, they all described an enclosed stationary plane. The only thing is that got me about that was, these are civilizations that never met each other. They never communicated whatsoever, but they have the same type of cosmology. Obviously, they have their own spin on all these things, just like every ancient civilization would have, because they have their own pagan beliefs or whatever. But the bottom line is their whole cosmologies all stuck to the same rules. And that's very telling, that they can all come to uh, the same observation without even communicating with each other.
Have you heard about the island of Mu, where apparently some of these, technologies, come from? Lemuria, the island of Mu. Apparently, that's Lemuria. It's some other island, some land. A lot of these, anti gravity, some of these old world. It seems like, in the 1800s, they had these fantastic buildings and electric cars and all of these things, but yet they try to destroy all that to take us back, to put us on oil, to recreate what was already created. It seems like they've reset
Recycle.
things here. Yeah, recycled or reset
Well, it
things.
is very weird, because it does look that way through history, that they've had a few resets. I mean, even if you keep looking at through history um, with it, every time we get into like the 20s, it's the 1820s, 1920s, 20, even now 20. Look at the pandemics and stuff. Everything is literally working in the cycles in a very certain manner. I mean, even the Black Death was in the 20s. I mean, the bubonic plague, all those things, they were in a very certain base time, and they always seem to be in cycles of like 100 or 200 years of everything. So it's very possible that you do kind of get great resets. I do agree with that. I do agree a lot of history is also fabricated. Um, So I don't rule out anything like there is hidden technologies that we just rediscovering and maybe just, I don't know, creating better. Who knows? This um, technology we got now could have existed before, but just in a different way.
They talk about these technologies, these anti-gravity machines. They had these like systems that were far more advanced. Like they literally could run an electric car and plug it into the ground for like charging and things like that. What do you think
Mhm.
the ether is? It seems like science doesn't want to really acknowledged etheric energy, ether, and maybe they try to call it gravity, but then they don't want to explain they can't explain what it is. What's your thoughts on ether?
I When I first came into the flat Earth, I did believe in the ether. I really looked into it hard, and if you look on my channel, my first few videos were based on me trying to do more research into it and try and prove it. But at the end of the day, I ended up just saying I dropped the idea that I think the ether exists because I just couldn't really find evidence for it, enough evidence on my opinion. But I know a lot of people do believe the ether to just be a propagation medium where with like the electric universe kind of thing that you're talking about that gives direction to everything. Um, but yeah, on my personal belief, I don't think the ether is a real thing because I haven't seen really enough evidence to convince me it is there. Do I think there is such thing as energy all around us? Definitely. And I do think people in the old times did harness this energy in some sort of way as good as they could. Electric Even electric vehicles. I mean, you can look at the early 1800s, they had electric vehicles. So they knew about how it worked. It's not something that's new, like they're trying to push us, like no one knew those days. Uh, I mean, even if you look at, I think it was like the first Model A or the Model Ts and stuff, they had electric vehicles at that time, even as well. So it's been around a long time. It's not some new thing that they want to push on. I think they're just rebranding it in a different way now.
Do you think that we're electrical beings?
Yes, definitely. We do have different vibrations and everything. If you look at us on a cellular level, vibration even changes the way we behave. Vibration changes actually anything. It's actually very interesting. I don't know if you've ever checked when they play different types of music to plants, the way they grow based on just the type of music and the frequencies and stuff. I think everything is frequency based. Definitely, I have no doubts about that, and that's why, especially with it goes in line with my beliefs that when God spoke things into existence, it was frequency. It was His words had power.
Someone once said that the future of medicine will be frequency and vibrations. And I'm just wondering, where did that go so wrong to think that we could pop pills to make ourselves healthy when we could actually be using cymatics or right frequencies or, some of these, if we're electrical beings, shouldn't we think of ourselves as trying to heal us more electrically opposed to chemically?
Well, everything today is synthetic. I think we've got into a very synthetic kind of worldview. So they believe that, we have to make everything chemically in balance to make it work. So, yeah, I do believe frequency can do things, but I think it also has its limitations, maybe if we can get to a point where that technology has how can I progressed so much that you can get it to restructure cells or something. You know what I mean? Maybe it will outphase the synthetics, but I think we're in such a synthetic kind of view at the moment that I don't think it will ever really change because, like I said, uh, the big farmers, they want their money, and if they can pump you to be stay sick, why are they going to change that?
Now, what's your thoughts on, Mother Earth? Some people, call this Mother Earth. Some people say, oh, no, that's just that's the occult stuff, is what they call it. You shouldn't be calling it. What's your thoughts on, Mother Earth?
Yeah, I'm with that on that. It's just a pagan belief. It doesn't really bother me though if someone wants to believe it's Mother Earth or whatever. But yeah, to me, it's just nature. It's I do, however, think um, trees and things are living. I do see that, especially, and it can be shown that, like I said, with the frequencies and things, you can see that nature has some kind of living mechanism to it. But Mother Earth, as it you would say it, I don't really agree with that because it is a pagan belief, based on my opinion.
Do you know the Bible very well?
Yeah.
So, the Mother Earth actually comes from the Bible. So it's interesting how that kind of is different. Like in Genesis 1 2. So the earth is not the source or mother of humanity, but our sister, since we have a common creator. It says the Bible, what is the spiritual meaning? There's 24 references, verses about Mother Earth in the Bible. Romans 1:20, um, Romans 8:19. So it comes, there's a lot of Mother Earth that actually comes from the Bible. And, when I hear people smash that, it just makes me, just again, more divisive techniques about, the Mother Earth and than the Bible.
I'm just quickly trying to look if I can find, because because I haven't really read Mother Earth in the Bible before, so it's Mother Nature maybe, but that's the ESV translation.
Hmm.
But
Um,
Mother Nature doesn't mean Mother Earth though. Genesis 2:15, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to keep it work good. Have you maybe got a certain scripture I can look at?
yeah, here, let me, um,
That's interesting
oh,
because I've never seen Mother Earth in the Bible though.
um, fascinating. These comments are off the chain. We've got so many. We've got what do we have? Like 160 people here on we're on our 6 platforms right now, live with us. So I'm just trying to keep up with some of that, and then I'll just kind of get you this reference. What do you think is Satan? What do you think is the devil? What do you think is Lucifer? Bollock, Moloch,
More,
Ball.
more like,
Are they different characters playing different roles? Do you think that they're all one and the same? Like, what's your thoughts on some of these dark mythical figures that are seemingly anti-God, anti-life?
well, if you know the history between Lucifer, he was one of the greatest of angels. He was the most beautiful angel in heaven until the fall. Um, when it comes to like Molech and Baal and all of them, it's just practically pagan beliefs. It's worship, idol worship. So, for instance, Baal, you would say, is just a demon. You can call him a demon if you really want to. I just think it's a practice based on a pagan belief that he is God. Like Molech, for instance, when the pagans used to, the Canaanites, they used to take their little born babies and burn them on the altar of Molech, where they would have Molech burning hot, like as in crazy hotness, and then they would throw their children onto the arms of Molech until they burn alive. And then they would have the priests hitting drums as loud as they possibly can, so you can't hear the baby scream. Um, I would say that was a pagan belief, and this is why God in the Bible even said they had to get rid of the Canaanites, not because of because he's an unjust God. It's because this had to stop all the pain and the suffering and the whole, how can I put it? Their belief was very evil.
Now, do you think that these entities are alive? Are they in physical form? Do you think that
Spirits, yeah,
there's some
definitely
dark
spirits.
fiery pit where these things reside and they try to come out to play within different people that allow them into their
Demons,
temples?
demons do exist. I've actually had alteration with a demon before, so yes, demons definitely do exist. I'm not gonna say they don't. The spiritual realm is a real thing, guys. It's not something to play around with. Um, so yes, there are definitely things, evil spirits and demons around. So I can't say no, it's not. And I do believe when a person says they've been demon possessed, because I personally have even gone for deliverance based on stuff like this. So yes, the things I've seen in spiritual realms definitely says there's much more of a higher power out there than people are letting to see.
We've interviewed Pastor McLeod, who does exorcisms, and that was an interesting interview. Would you mind sharing some of these an experience that you've had with this demon or dark
Yeah,
entity in your life?
yeah. Okay. So when I was younger, um, I, because people dabble when you're stupid when you're young with little stupid stuff, and the one night I actually had a demon kind of choke me and hold me against my bed until I almost passed out, kind of stuff. That was quite scary, I would say. Okay, last one. But obviously, that was only once in my life. But another supernatural thing that happened with me was I had my learners, and me and my brother were going to youth, and we were driving, and it was night. And all of a sudden, when I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw a figure sitting in the back seat, and I can only describe it as an angel, because I got was in such shock. I pressed brakes straight away, and if I didn't press brakes, a car would have sideswiped us, came from the side, and just missed the front bumper by like a few centimeters. And if I didn't see that figure and braked by shock, we would have been sideswiped. So it's stuff like that that really makes a person think, yeah, there's something to it. You understand?
Oh yeah, 100%. I had got stabbed 12 times, and
Wow.
I fought a bunch of gangsters, and I fell down the stairs as I was walking to go get help, and everything went pitch black and dark, and I kind of felt, kind of fear for the first time that I could remember. And all of a sudden, this profound voice said, "Get up or you're gonna die, Jesse." And I was like, what the
Wow.
heck? It was, I could never forget. Something spoke to me. Was it God? Was it an angel? Was it something? Something spoke to me and commanded me to get up, and said if I didn't, I was going to die. And I got up, and that was 20 plus years ago. So
Wow.
I know that there's things. I actually, when I was in the operating table, I saw my lifeless body on the operating table in the hospital as I floated away. So, I
Hmm.
know that there's more that, energy, can never die. It just gets transferred, and, life is eternal. And I think that people are too afraid to die is why they're,
Uh-huh.
so scared to live.
I agree. Yeah, and I mean, especially if you've gone something through like that, and you make it wonder. It's like we can't just be some evolved, by chance corpse here. I think you'd agree with that. There's something higher there, even though some people can't explain what it would be with certainty or anything. If you go through things like that, there's definitely a supernatural kind of way of this. And that's why you explained it like dimensions earlier, because yeah, I do believe we have supernatural beings in dimensions that are entwined with us, and that's why sometimes, like I said, with me, you can see the demons or whatever. Uh, even me and my wife, we've seen some spirits in her house before as well. I mean, we saw the same kind of spirits, and you wouldn't even need to say anything. We could describe it to a T what we saw. You know, it how if you one person hallucinating something, how is it possible that more than one can see the same hallucination? You know, stuff like that. It's there's definitely spiritual things happening.
Now, they say that we only see 10% of what is actually happening. You'll see animals notice things that, you're looking that you can't see. And, children notice things sometimes when children have imaginary friends, could they maybe be real friends of a spiritual nature, of a spirit that people, oh, don't, you're just hallucinating. And people, parents, they'll, get their children away from maybe something that they're actually really seeing. Do you think that there's a lot more going on around us than most people can, you know, feel, see, touch, taste,
Definitely,
with the senses?
definitely, and I do think animals do see into the spiritual realm. I do also believe that even children, when you're younger and you don't have that age of understanding yet, you can see a lot of times, especially little children, they like talk with nobody there, but they're talking with them, or they talk about someone that they've met, or stuff like that. So yes, I do believe there's definitely spiritual beings around, that definitely animals can sense them and see them in a way we can't. um, I think sometimes it might just be too much for us, and that's why we kind of shut it off to that. You know what I mean? Because what do you think we would dabble in if we had to see the things that are going around? I think we will probably go insane.
Now, that being said, since there is a lot going on out there, there's lots of spirits that are happening out there. More people focus on the negative and the negative spirits, opposed to them being angels, being things out there that could speak to you or could show up in your car to stop you from, like, not a lot of people talk about it, recognize it, or even believe it. They believe in God, but they're more focused on this is Satan's world, opposed to, this is God's world. And, there's right now, Satan is just, holding dominion over people, I think, through this false illusionary matrix. And I think it's all in a big illusion. And, once people wake up from it, then we could truly get back to our self and connect back to, source creator, the way where I think we're supposed to be meant to be here.
That's definitely. No, I agree totally. I think a lot of it is illusion based. I Being based on the Bible, I do believe that Satan has dominion over the earth right now, because he has fallen to it. And I mean, like the Bible says, where the rulers of this world is dark powers and entities. So it's definitely Satan's playground, you can put it. Um, I think it's different for everybody though, and what they believe, but that's just my belief and based on the Bible.
What do you think when you hear signs and symbols rule the world?
Hmm, it's a tough one. I I don't think it rules the world, but I do think it has an influence, especially when it gets to the cultic kind of side. The symbolism in occults and in a cultic worship and everything is very powerful, you could say, because it does conjure up certain things. But that's why I do believe words have power, and that's why I mean, you've obviously part of that when you understand when you're talking positivity into something, you're going to have more of a positivity. I mean, that's why you do your guys meditation and stuff as well, because you're talking positivity over you guys. You understand? So you understand words have power. So yeah.
What's your thoughts on Germatia and how some of these people that are, aligned with some of these dark spirits or darkness, they're kind of use that for, their rituals, or to, all these weird dates. And I don't know, every date has a date and could be backwards and forwards. And some of that stuff is like mind spinning, that, there's so many dates and people
It's got a
born, you
meaning.
could find a date to mean something to something. So do you think it has, if people knew more about Germatia, that we could comprehend the false illusionary matrix, and we could stop them the more people knew about these numbers and codes?
I think gematria has something to it. I just don't think it has as much leeway as they're trying to make it out to be. Obviously, there's words and meanings and numerical values to things. I think it's a way to decipher words and the meanings, but I wouldn't say it has what I would say a hold on something. It's not really gonna, because you have gematria or something. It's not gonna cause something else to happen. You know what I mean? So I don't think it has that kind of power. I think it's more just descriptive in trying to decode something.
What do you know about the Mandela effect, and why do you think that that's happening?
To me, I believe the Mandela effect is a spiritual thing because I've been Mandela affected in a few things that I've seen. Most of my things are obviously biblical scripture that's changed a bit. Um, but it's been the normal things like, for instance, 3CPO's leg that's supposed to be one silver, one gold kind of thing. You know, the A team with the bus where it's used to be black, gray, and red. Uh, it's just those normal things that everybody do see. I don't think it's possible that everybody can just have the same false memories for some odd reason. It's possible that some of them are just based on a false narrative pushed at some stage that makes it look like it's changed. But as a whole, there's just too much things that I would say no. The Mandela effect really is a real thing that definitely has it. But to me, I think it's a spiritual thing and it's part of what I believe to be in the end times.
Now, we were interviewing, I think it was Jason Lindgren from Crow 777, and he was saying that in the movie in the 80s of Star Wars, C3PO actually had one gold leg, or one silver leg. And he's like, when they came out with the action figure, it was all just gold. And that's why there's the discrepancy, why people remember gold opposed to what actually happened. And now what we're seeing is the actual silver leg, but because the action figure makes people think, and they didn't actually do it, created it at the same, at the identical image, and that would maybe explain, the
Oh,
leg theory.
well, when we looked into it, the first scene where 3CPO actually he's in the starship, and it shows he has a silver leg and a gold leg, and all the rest was just gold and stuff. But the guy who played C3PO even said in an interview, no, it just looked that way because of the sand as the desert on the leg that made it look that way. But it was always, a silver and a gold leg, but it just looked to be gold. But it's weird because you get action figures today that has one silver, one gold, and you get action figures that show both gold. So it's odd stuff, definitely.
And like for the Publishers Clearinghouse, I remember, I watched these commercials about Ed McMahon going around giving out these checks. Like,
Right.
I remember we got Publishers Clearinghouse, and I remember that. And apparently now he's saying they never did that. But the explanation there is it could all have been a setup. They never gave out any checks, and they couldn't prove that they gave to, so they had to say, no, we just never did that, because that would make them look, like really bad, that they were, conning people into this when they didn't actually give out any money. So, that's the reason why they're saying they never did that, because they never actually did give out the checks, even though we seen them do that. And it kind of has an explanation why possibly that has altered.
Well, I don't know if you know an image, if you put in your head Tutankhamun.
Who?
Tutankhamun. Do you know anything about Tutankhamun, the old Egyptian pharaoh?
No.
If you remember, think about it. If you think of the hat of the Tutankhamun and he has a snake on his head, would you remember it as a snake or a bird?
Yeah, I don't remember
But you
that
don't. But
particular.
anyway, everybody would usually remember it just as a snake. But if you look at it now, it's got a bird and a snake on there. It's things like that that's just really odd. I don't know if you know who Brian Stavely is.
Yeah, we've interviewed
Joseph.
him a few times, and I was on his show as well.
Okay, so he's probably talking about stuff like that then, because he is big into the Mandela effect as well. But yeah, it's Mandela effect. I think is definitely got something to it, if I have to put it that way. My favorite one from is a biblical one, uh, and the lamb shall lie down with the lion shall lie down with the lamb. I mean, you've obviously seen artwork and stuff based on that that has been going on for like 8 generations already. And yet, if you go look at the scripture now, as the wolf shall dwell with the lamb. It's not the lion shall lie down with the lamb anymore. So everybody, ever since I was even a young boy, and any Christian I know, even till today, still remembers it that way. That it was the lion shall lie down with the lamb. Now it's never been that way. It's always just been the wolf shall dwell with the lamb.
Yeah, when I just did a quick search, they say in 1818 to 1885, humorist Josh Billings, the lion and the lamb may possibly sometimes lie down together, but if you'll notice carefully, when the lion gets up, the lamb is generally missing. Woody Allen, I've always liked someday that the lamb will lay by the lion. So there could be these other art, you know, you know, like scripts and like these plays and things that have altered people's memories to think that it was the lion opposed to, you know, the wolf.
You see, the weird thing about this is they've been preaching this in churches. I can bring up a whole bunch of actual recorded preachers where the preachers are actually bringing up the scripture and reading it, the lion and the lamb. A lot of songs, lion and the lamb. There's even a guy that I think it was in the 1700s or something that he commissioned to have his burial stone as a lion and lamb because he wanted it so badly. So there's a lot of things that, yeah, you could say maybe they could have somehow changed it, but yeah, there's just too much, as Brian would say, residue to show it's kind of changed. But I don't think the Mandela effect is for everybody. A lot of people don't really see it that way.
Now you said it's spiritual. Could you maybe elaborate what you mean by these changes being spiritual? Is this an alternate reality? Is this God changing things? Is this some dark energies trying to discredit the Bible? Like, you know, why what do you mean by you think this is potentially you know, a spiritual why things are memories, reality seems to be changing in some things?
I think it is part of spiritual change because I believe we are like in the end time kind of thing. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying that for years, but the prophecies and things that are happening now, like the Bible, the signs and things happening, I would say, yeah, it's just a way to get confusing. You know what I mean? Because everything is going chaotic at the moment. I mean, it's not just where they're going chaotic. It's not just people going mentally insane for some odd reason all of a sudden. Things are changing all over the place. If you would take it more from a viewpoint of someone that's not really spiritual, you know, like a just a secularist kind of thing, you would say it's sort of like dimensions clashing. You know, like everything is going haywire. It's getting to a point where the things entwine so much that something has to happen. It has to give up. And that's why I say with me, I think it's a spiritual thing that's happening because it's just getting to that time where everything is getting so chaotic that it's just there to confuse.
Now, what do you think about us being in a holographic universe?
No, I don't. I don't think that's. Although you get a lot of people that do think that they think we're in like simulations and kind of thing. I don't think we're in a holographic universe now.
You mentioned earlier that you think that, history maybe isn't, actually what it was. They teach in their Freemason indoctrination camps, they call schools, that the victor burns all the books and rewrites history. And they've taught that there's been many different empires over the last thousands of years that have potentially burned all the books and changed history. What do you think is actual and factual, and what do you think is just made up, to suit their narrative, potentially like space?
I wouldn't say everything has changed, but I do think when it comes to that government of the time, they would choose what history they want to push, to maybe push a narrative on what they want people to think, and how, because it could steer a person to think in a certain way if you give them a certain history. I don't think all history is faked. I do think some is faked or some is taken away, kind of thing. But burning all the books, I think that'll be a bit difficult to do, to get rid of every single thing of literature if you want to try and change that. But yeah, I do think when it comes to some history, I think it's been changed by just trying to leave some of it out, or just trying to change little nuances here and there to try and steer people to think in a certain way.
Now, what are some of the more important, flat Earth proofs that you'd like people to, know about if they're hearing, this and they're not have gone down those rabbit holes? Some things that, maybe first got you sparked, directions you could send them for, the thousands of people that are going to watch this, and I'm sure not everyone is, down that rabbit hole yet.
Um, yeah, I think everybody has their own way to go down the thing. If you want to look at what most people look at, is they try and look at long distance observations kind of things. I saw an interesting one the other day from UAP, where he saw wind turbines 52 kilometers away. Um, those wind turbines should be about 100 meters still underneath the Earth curve. Yet he can see like at the hub height, which should be impossible on the globe. Obviously, the bottoms are blocked, but I mean, this can be explained with like limited angles and all the optical effects that we explain it. I think the best would be, if people are just getting into this, look more into the arguments presented on the optical side of what looks to be curved. Or my favorite is, try and do a demonstration to see if you can have gas pressure without containment, because obviously the globe, you guys need gravity to be the container to hold gas down, and gas behavior on its own means it moves around in all directions constantly. It can't be held down. Definitely gas doesn't uh, go down, as Nathan Oak said, go down, go boom boom. Gas moves in all directions, so obviously you need containment for the gas pressure to exist. So I'd say those are the two main arguments I'd have. And just a point, look for yourself if you actually see anything what the globe claims. See if you can find any observation for the rotation of the Earth. See if you can find physical curve. See if you can find space to be what it's supposed to be, other than what people just tell you. That's practically all I can say.
Now, you said gas needs to have a container.
Yeah.
Now, and humans aren't able to replicate that.
No. No. You
But
see, where where
go ahead.
where we have, like, I don't know if you know anything about the second law of thermodynamics.
No.
You see, it's the entropy law. So it's simply about the states of um, of how things would happen in chaos. So if you, for instance, I'm going to do it in a very simple manner. If you have a container filled with marbles, it's clumped together in that container, so it's ordered in a certain way. Now, if you have to throw those marbles out, it's going to be spaced out further. So there is more ways it can be rearranged. And that can be described as entropy, just more more ways before it reaches can be rearranged. Now, when it comes to like the second law of thermodynamics and gas exchange, if we don't have a closed system, the gas we breathe will just fill the available space. So, according to the globe model, because there's space, which is a separate separate low pressure system, and Earth as a pressure system, the air we breathe can't exist because we wouldn't have containment and the air would just fill the space, would be dead.
But God could create something that we couldn't replicate, and it actually could happen if God wanted it that way, without us being able to simulate it.
Yeah, but you see, when it comes to the globe, it's claiming to be scientifically accurate. It's claiming to be able to demonstrate the things for the globe. And unfortunately, this goes against what the globe can demonstrate. If I look at my biblical worldview, the firmament is that container. So it even holds in with that God created the firmament, and therefore we have the gas to breathe because of that firmament.
But we obviously couldn't create, like, has anybody been able to replicate an Earth? Like, I know they've had a terrarium where, they've put in some things and water and everything just lives inside of a jar, inside of a container or whatever. But, have they, I know China's created a second sun or some shit that they like supposedly are blocking out the sun. Like, have they ever been able to create something that could replicate what is happening, or what they're claiming that's happening here?
No, you see, that's the whole point. That's what I said. Because the globe claims something that violates natural law, it would be interesting to see, okay, since you're claiming that, that's why I claimed in the beginning the globe is just faith based. If we claim a curve, it's either no, Earth's just too big, so we shouldn't see it, or when it comes to Earth rotation, when you claim Coriolis effect, we say, okay, but where's the observation for it? No, Earth's just too big, so the rotation is just too small, or conservation of momentum. So it's something we never observe, yet it's claimed to be fact. And this is unfortunately everything we get. Even gravity, for instance. What is gravity? Yeah, no one
I
knows.
no, I
But
don't know.
yet
I don't know.
but yet they claim gravity is the thing that causes acceleration. When we drop something, like for instance, if I drop this, yes, we can all agree it accelerates, but the claim is gravity is causing that. But then you ask, what's gravity? No one knows. Um, so it's very, very nuanced when you get into the subjects deeper. So that's why I said just maybe go into the subjects deeper and look on what you think is the cause for everything that's claimed, because the globe is faith based.
Now, here we have Roger from our YouTube says, how about sea level rise? So, what do you know about that? Because there's pictures of, like, the Statue of Liberty and the 60s and the sea levels,
All
and
the
in the
same.
2000 it's still the same. They're building high rises and multi-billion-dollar developments, oceanfront, all over Florida, all over these other places. Do you think the banks would be giving out these kind of loans if they were worried about these buildings and things flooding? So what do you know about sea level rise and why people seem to use that as a threat for, you know, whatever narrative they're trying to push?
Yeah, it's because the people push global warming. It's a type of fear mongering to get people scared of everything, doom and gloom. I mean, I can show you pictures of even in Cape Town, the fortress in the 1800s. There was more water. There was actually a water against the moat, where now there's no water. If sea level is rising, why is there less water? I can show different places and stuff where it's exactly the same since the 1700s. So it's weird. I think it's just fear mongering, and like I said also earlier, that even the banks would give them money and stuff. It doesn't mean they are in on it or anything. Maybe they just believe it. They fell into the fear of, hang on, we need to do something about this, because some people do have good intentions, and they believe it to be real. But yeah, I definitely don't think there is sea level rise. There's no been observation for this at all. Like, no.
Now, what's your thoughts on climate change? Because, some people are like, climate change is fake, but yet we noticeably see things differing so it's not fake. Whether
Those
it's
weather manipulation.
natural or something is happening, but it seems like it's being done on purpose, opposed to cow farts and whatever else that they're trying to
Meeting.
say is causing this.
Yeah, it's all the cow's fault, guys. Uh, no, like I said earlier as well with HARP, I do think they have weather manipulation, and that's why we do see the chemtrails and things a lot more as well. I think it is a push to try and push climate change, even though it's very synthetic the way they're trying to do it. Who knows the hidden agenda behind it? I can't divine someone's motives for it, but I do believe it's got to do with something in controlling. You know what I mean? Maybe if there's some kind of huge natural disaster that's going to happen to try and create world unity or something, who knows? You just don't know what the motive behind it is.
In South Africa, do you notice planes in the sky farting all over the skies, creating these lines that
Mm.
create these clouds, and all of a sudden it's cloud covered? Like, do you notice like this stuff happening
Yes.
where you're
Yeah.
at as well?
Yeah, it's everywhere. We got what I like to say is that sometimes it looks like they're playing checkers in the sky. Yeah, no, it's definitely everywhere. And
No long.
when the weird thing is, the more frequent it is, the more we've seen the farmers and things struggle with their crops, because it has weird weather anomalies to it. It's like where it's supposed to be hot, all of a sudden it's cold, or it's supposed to be rainy and it's now dry, kind of thing. And it never used to be that way. It's just it's definitely been elevated, especially the last few years. And since then, you can see changes.
It's interesting. STC Sala from our Rumble channel says gravity is a fundamental force of nature that attracts two bodies towards each other. I just think if I'm going to put this here, there's nothing attracting it. If I let it go, it's going to fall. If I push something off the edge, it's going to fall. There's nothing pulling it down. It's just that's time and space. That's space. If you have
That's
something
exactly.
at a higher space and I drop it, there's nothing attracting it to the ground. I don't see that as a plausible explanation for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people still think of Newtonian gravity as the force that attracts things. But the thing is, in 1919, Einstein with general relativity superseded that. And according to Einstein, gravity is not a force. Although people still work of gravity, the acceleration, as a force, it doesn't make it that. It's just them describing it as one. And that's why I said nobody really knows what gravity is. I, on the other hand, do believe that when, like, you hold your flask up, you are able to support it. The air around it can't support it. So if you have to let it go, it's going to just displace the medium around it, and it has to get to its next relative equilibrium point. And that's practically how I see it, and that's why I call it we call it relative density disequilibrium.
Now, no longer on the ball, who we had recently interviewed, amazing guy's done some great work on his WikiLeaks or Wikipedia for the flat Earth and stuff that NASA have said. That's really good. If you haven't checked that out, it's worth it going. He's saying, what does Flatzoid think about upward moving Earth as an explanation of things falling?
No, no, I don't agree with it. I have been very outspoken about this with like Dell and their Beyond the Imaginary Curve, because they do believe Well, it's weird because they don't claim it's an upward rising Earth, but they do claim it's an accelerating upward Earth. So to me, it's the same thing. I don't agree with that at all, especially if you take into account that if it's constantly accelerating, it should be going billion times faster than the speed of light by now. You know what I mean? It's insane. No, I don't agree with that at all.
Now, what kind of stuff that you think that you wanted to share with our audience here today that maybe we haven't talked about here yet?
I don't know. I just think it was a great discussion. It was good to see your take on things as well because uh, I didn't really know you and stuff, but then when I was looking through some of your interviews, it was really cool. What I like about your channel is it's very laid back and you're very open to things, and that's what I like about it. But yeah, I practically say what I do, and I really appreciate you inviting me onto the show.
Yeah, thanks so much. And like, I don't claim to know anything. I'm just trying to learn. And the more I learn, the more I know that I know nothing. And that I'm
That's two
just
of us.
trying to figure this out. I'm just asking questions. I'm giving a voice to the voiceless, people that are being censored. We focused the first year on a lot of doctors. We've interviewed over 80 doctors in our 800 interviews. So, we're just, doing the best to just, try to show all kinds of different sides to people because nobody knows everything. And I think that they've purposely made it so people are constantly questioning. So we can't get that firm understanding. But I truly believe our mission is to, to remember our connection to source, God, creator, to remember that we were never disconnected, that we've always been his, we've always had that connection, and we've always had, the abilities that was instilled in us. Yeshua said, you can do everything I can do and more. Right. So we all have that inside of us. And it's just a remembering that we aren't worthless sinners like they try to tell us we are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an awesome. That's what I say. That's why I appreciate what you do because it's good to be open with things. I think people today are very close minded and they don't really want to get challenged in what they believe and what they want to see. Um, I think that's also kind of pushed into the narrative of a person's upbringing. If it goes against what you taught and how it is, then you should shun them and just be negative. And I think that's something that needs to change.
You guys are great, enjoying the comms, the comments to Flatzoid. Do you think Jesus is God, aka the Trinity doctrine? He said that earlier. I didn't think No Longer on the Ball was here, but maybe you would like to answer that.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, I like Jesse because he doesn't talk bad about people. He let the people make their own mind. It's all about respect. You let people speak and do not push their emotions. I just, like I've seen a bunch of your trolls that are here, and they've been relatively, okay. I usually don't allow too much trolling here. If you're not here to ask questions, if you're here disingenuously, I don't usually tolerate it too much. I know that you've pushed it out onto your channel, so I imagine those are, a bunch of people that follow you around wherever you go, and they just decide to try to, cause chaos to you and anybody else that aligns with you. So I've let them all go here, because, like I said, they haven't been too bad. But what you call it.
But
Um,
we used to trolls anyway, so it doesn't really bother us anymore. It's like yeah, just take it.
awesome. Okay, well, what else? Anything else? Any other topics? Anything? I think we've got about 10 minutes left. We usually go about 2 hours. We don't have to do the 2 hours.
Okay.
What's new for you? Like, you got a family, you do this part-time online, you work, you family man, you're
Yeah.
a part-time YouTuber. Do you like the other platforms? Are you mostly just on YouTube? Do you go on other people's shows a lot? Like, what's your kind of what motivates you?
Yeah, I do work, so this is a part-time thing. I usually go live practically every single night. It's only Tuesday nights that I usually have off. Yeah, I got my three children, my wife, and stuff. I do have this as my passion, and I do enjoy it, and I do hope it grows even more. Mostly on YouTube, and then obviously I do stream on Kicked as well, on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok, and so forth. Um, it's difficult. I think if you're so busy with life and stuff that you can't really separate, because I'm so very busy with everything, but I try and make as much time as I can, obviously. And like I said, I am working on a documentary at the moment as well, so hopefully I can get that out in the next month or two. Really looking forward to that. um, and yeah, I definitely got some big plans ahead for the future, which I hopefully can get into structure. I mean, I've been trying to write a book for the last year or two as well. I just can't get that done. But also, I've restarted it so many times because it's like, oh no, I could have changed that, and I just scrap it all and I do it all over again, kind of thing. Uh, but it's it's a learning curve with everything as well.
Uh, Tell us about the documentary.
The documentary is more focusing on on what makes an anti-flat earther so obsessed with flat Earth, because it's something that really gets weird when you see it. The same people that claim flat Earth is just stupid and a waste of time are the same people that dedicating their lives and their channels to trying to debunk it. You know what I mean? There's some kind of weird uh, characteristic to the what we call anti-flat earthers, and I'm trying to get behind what causes that obsession, and that's what the documentary is about.
If you had found a magic lamp that you could rub it and you got granted three wishes, what would those wishes be?
Wish for more wishes. No, I'm joking. What did I don't know. Uh, I think it would be difficult because the thing is, what can you really wish for? That's not going to. I mean, you can, for instance, say, stop world hunger, but what other implications will that have if you stop world hunger, for instance? Or if you say, just give me a bajillion amount of money that I will never, never go poor. But what will that help? It's not like it's going to make you a better person, or you just. So I think I don't really have anything that I would really wish for, other than maybe say, I wish everybody that will come to the realization of truth. That's about it.
Revelation, do you think that we're living in that this time? Do you think that people are
Parts of it.
using it as a playbook in order to accelerate things, to make it look like we're living in those times? Like, what's your thoughts? Some
Yeah, there's
people
still.
believe Revelation already all happened, and that, this is just, they're just recreating it to keep the fear narrative going.
Yeah, I think we are in parts of a relation. Like I said, I do believe we are in the end times. But I mean, people have been thinking this for how many years now? Uh, and there's still some prophecies that have to be fulfilled before it can be claimed to be, exactly like that. I do believe we are kind of close to seeing the things. I mean, even just the weather that's happening, like with the weather manipulations, like it says, you'll see strange weathers in various parts of the world, just like we see now. But I think people do use that kind of to say, "Oh, the end is nigh. We're going to die now," kind of thing. So yeah, I do think people use that to their advantage. But I I won't say it's going to be now. I mean, it could be any. I mean, according to my beliefs, it could be now. It could happen in 2 minutes. It could happen in 10 years, 100 years. It doesn't really matter anyway. It's just my heart is, are people ready? That's all.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. No doubt.
If for some reason you needed to meet the creator, in a very short period, would you be happy with, how what you've done so far throughout life?
Yeah, obviously, I do sometimes wish I could have done things different, but I know I've done it to the best of what I could do in my abilities. And obviously, person's not perfect, and you're just gonna strive to do better if you wake up the next day to do better than you did before.
That's one of my philosophies. You know, every single day, hopefully, I can be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. And if we're heading that direction and more people head that direction, I think we could be the change we want to see in the world. And that if you change the world around you, then the world around you changes. And if everybody was changing for the better, or at least working towards that, that we could maybe find heaven on earth and get it back to the Garden Eden, like I think is truly meant to be here.
Yeah, yeah. And Genova says, Keith, you speak in an English accent. I can speak in an English accent, or I don't know what kind of English accent you want me to talk about, but I can try.
Oh, you weren't speaking English?
No, no, they said I spoke in an English accent. I'm speaking my normal English accent, but I'm mostly Afrikaans, so but I can do some impressions at least.
That's a question but because sometimes, like, I just let whatever questions pop in. Sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out. I wanted to ask you about South Africa and the farmers that were being brutally murdered there.
That's cool
If you
every
could
day.
maybe speak a little bit about that, and how, I haven't heard much in the last few years, but maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, we were hearing a lot that that was going on.
It's still around though. They just don't publicize it as much. I mean, you still get people, especially farms that are more remote and stuff. They still do get a lot of the farm hatreds, killings and stuff. It's like, but it's. I think it is part of government pushed because a lot of the times the government doesn't really want anything to know about it. You know what I mean? This is the same thing that happened in Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. Remember Zimbabwe when it was still Rhodesia? It was the same thing because they were trying to get people off the lands, trying to scare them off, so they can give the lands to people. And now that those people that could till the land, that knew what they was doing, was gone, the people that took over the land is asking for them to come back because they've messed the economy up. They've messed all the lands up, and that's exactly what's busy happening here. They're trying to chase all the people that have knowledge on farming away so they can give it to people that don't know what the hell they're doing, and eventually they're gonna just yeah do what they did to Zimbabwe, throw it away.
Well,
But it
see
is still
what they're
happening.
what's happening here in Canada is something called UNDRIP. So that's the United Nations Declaration to give the land back to the Indigenous people. So they're saying that all these farmers and landowners, that they're going to say, look, this land was all stolen land. We're going to give it back to the natives as they own all of the native, chiefs, the people that are controlling them, and then they're going to take that land from them. But it's going to be a way for them to get people off of the land, and in hope they're going to give it back to the natives of the land. But it sounds like maybe that's what's similar
Land
happening
grab.
there. It's the land grab to get people off
Mm-hmm.
of the land and say they're going to give it back to these the people of the land, but it's just a matter of stealing the land so people can't
Exactly
be
that.
self-sufficient.
It's exactly that. Yeah, and it's sad. It's actually everywhere. It's international. It's not just localized. You can say it's everywhere. That's why I say there's definitely something happening that people don't understand.
Are there any places in the world that you haven't gone to yet that you still want to explore?
I haven't been out of Africa, but I do have family in America and New Zealand and Australia and the UK. So I have family all over the world. I just haven't been out of Africa though. But if I would like to go somewhere specific, I think I would like to go to Alaska or to
Antarctica.
nah. maybe I'd go to McMurdo just to go and look at the
To
you
where?
know McMurdo in Antarctica
Oh,
just
okay.
to go look at how McMurdo looks there kind of thing. but I think I'll get bored very quickly because it's just nothing. You know what I mean?
Is the economy okay in South Africa? Are people
No, it's
doing okay, or has things they're squeezing everybody? Everything's getting more expensive. Houses more expensive. Same kind of shit that's happening everywhere else.
very, very bad. Yeah, everything's getting much more expensive. Uh, Especially now with the weird weather we've got now as well. Again, uh, the farmers have had quite a bit of loss now. So again, all the food's going to go price up. The petrol's going to go up again. Electricity, we just got a price increase again of 34%. Last year we got a price increase of 28%. We've we've more than tripled our electricity bill in the last 5 years.
And is the
And
electricity any better than it was 5 years ago?
it's worse. It's worse. I mean, last night again, we have what we call load shedding. So what they do is they put the
Power
power.
outages.
Yeah. So last night we actually had a power outage, and luckily it wasn't tonight. So I wasn't even sure if it's going to be on tonight for us. But yeah, at least tonight we got electricity. But yeah, power's on and off all the time.
So what do you do? Do you have a generator that powers things
I have
during
a
that time?
generator. I have a generator, but the coil pack gave in. One of my subscribers actually from Canada. Jeff sent me a coil pack, but it never arrived to me. It looks like someone stole it through the mail or something. So I have to look if I can source another one. Otherwise, I'm just thinking of saving up for um, a power cell and getting solar panels.
Is there, because of, you said there is chemicals being sprayed there, is there still lots of sun? Is there still
Oh
lots of
yeah, yeah. The
days of sun?
sun's
So
still.
solar will, you could
Yeah, it
actually
definitely works.
power your home. Are you
The
thinking of going off grid?
I would love to if I have the money to. It's quite expensive thing here because they know that a lot of people want to do this, so they've made it quite expensive. Our government has even tried to put a surcharge tax for anybody that goes off grid. That you have to pay a tax to be off grid. It's like what you want us to pay for things that got nothing to do with you. So that's how insane it's got.
So I saw this article where they were bragging about some police station getting 10 net 2 Tesla trucks, and they're going to save 150,000 in, gas costs per year. But they're going to spend $150,000 in electricity to charge up these things. So they're not saving anything. They're spending 3 times the amount of what it would normally cost on a truck. But then the big thing is the load on the electrical system can't handle all of these electricals.
Mhm.
So Stephen Neville said someone plugged their car in. That's why you're getting your rolling outage, because they're can't account for the amount of electricity that it's going to take to
Mhm.
power up these vehicles and motors and stuff. So that is a
And not to
pretty.
mention, the upkeep of those batteries and stuff. It's quite an expensive thing. It's not cheap. They think it's cheap. It's going to cost more at the end.
Okay, well, awesome. This was great. Thank you so much for having this conversation. That's one thing I love about what I do here is I just get to meet really cool people that got interesting perspectives on things, and just get to hang out and talk to new people. And I love people, so this I really enjoy being able to do this. So thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us here today.
Anytime, and I appreciate it. And yeah, you're always welcome my channel as well. And I think just carry on doing what you're doing, man. I think it's really, really awesome stuff. And I do pray blessings over you for
Well,
sure.
thank you so much. Appreciate that. Well, may the source be with you and protection around you during this pivotal time in history. Thanks for all the likes, comments, hearts, shares, and stars. We appreciate all of your love and support. And we appreciate all of your trolls that came in and added some little bit of life and a little bit of battle to the comments and stuff. So that was interesting. May the source be with you all, protection around you. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge we all have collectively, the less power they have over us. For one love, one heart, one life. Namaste, everyone. And if they ever ask you to put on a breathing inhibitor again, you know what to say. No maske. Okay. Thanks,
Perfect.
everyone. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Flatzoid. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got Amy Mitchell coming back for a second time. She's an ex-nurse that obviously kind of got shafted out because of these protocols and things like that. So I think her kids were taken, or she's got a pretty wild story. So again, we interview everybody from every type of perspective. We've interviewed quite a few people that have the government, this child protective services, stolen their kids, and they're fighting them for all kinds of different reasons. So this is definitely an interesting time to be alive. But we'll see you next time we see you. And then Saturday, we've got Diego Garcia. He's coming back for, I think, the ninth time. He goes hard how Zionism infiltrated America through the Louis Brandeis and the Zionist movements and the rise of the experts. So he goes really deep into enlightening people on why the system has gone the way it has with the so-called trust the experts. It all became, that was their narrative, and why people don't think for themselves because they have an expert to think for them. And it just seems like, look how good that's worked for us so far. But we'll see you next time we see you back here on the Missing Link. And thanks again, Flatzoid.
Just thank you for having me.